Hi everyone, my name is Soshtwi and welcome back to my channel. Today we're discussing everything I read in March, another monthly wrap up. I feel like time is going by really fast, but nevertheless, let's get into all the books. Spoiler alert, the month wasn't all that great for me this time. I think since February we've just been going a little bit downhill, but it's fine. I have a feeling it's gonna pick up soon. So there's a mixed bag in here really. There's a couple that were like brilliant reads. There were some, most of them which were just mediocre reads, and some I couldn't even get myself to finish. So yeah, let's just get into it. Let's start discussing all the books I read in March. The very first book I read in March is Two Can Keep a Secret by Karen M. McManus. This is, I think, the fastest book I read this month and still somehow wasn't the best. I finished this in a day because it's a very easy read. It's young adult and the writing is super easy and it's easy to flow through the story. Honestly, I have read One of Us is Lying, that trilogy by this author, and I love that trilogy and I would highly recommend it. So I've been keen to check out all her other books as well, and I'm slowly getting through them. So I read Two Can Keep a Secret, and it was interesting. So the book is basically about this town. We follow a pair of twins, and they have moved into this town recently where their mother used to live previously, long ago. And the story of the town is that back in the day, some homecoming queens were killed, one of them being their mom's twin sister. Now that these twins have come into this town, there are threads going around. Someone is spreading messages that all the homecoming queens disappearing and being found dead is not a coincidence. There's a pattern here, and the person putting up all these threats around town is saying that he's gonna come for another homecoming queen this time. So we follow the twins on their journey, how they get in the middle of this mystery about who's killing off the homecoming queens and why has he returned now, and does it have something to do with their family, all of that good stuff. So as a premise, it sounds really promising. It gives me the vibes of Pretty Little Liars, if you've seen that show. A promising concept, and it wasn't bad. You do enjoy the book because this author, Karen M. McManus, she really knows how to write her stories well. She knows how to make it a story. She knows how to write lovable characters, so you do enjoy the plot. However, I must say the story was a little slow and it wasn't anything mind-blowing. Like the main big twist of the plot, I figured out I think like 10 pages in. Like it wasn't that difficult to understand and to guess at, and it wasn't anything new. I feel like younger readers, if you're in your teens, you will definitely enjoy this a lot more. I, on the other hand, it was nice. I like the author, I like her writing style, and it will be an engaging mystery. However, it's just nothing brilliant. So this is like a 3 out of 5 stars for me. The next book I read this month is also another murder mystery. It's called The Guest List by Lucy Foley. Now I know she's a very popular author. The Paris Apartment is also by her, which I've been wanting to read as well, and I will get to. She's pretty popular on Book Talk, and I got the chance to pick this book up, so I did. This book is basically about this marriage that's happening on an island. We're following two timelines. We're following the timeline when all the guests arrived at the party and everything that was happening before the murder took place, and then a timeline after the murder took place. So we're following these two timelines. I think we're following about 6 different characters, if I'm not wrong. And it was, how do I say, I don't think in all these 24 years of me being on this earth, I've ever read a book more predictable than this. Like every little thing, the tiniest of mysteries to the larger mystery, every single thing I was able to predict. I have two stances on predicting mysteries, okay? One is, I don't mind if I've predicted the mystery, and I don't mind if I have a theory about the outcome and it comes to be true. If the author has written it in such a way where it feels like it's challenging you to figure it out. Whereas in some mysteries, it writes it in a way where they make a big deal out of the mystery and write it in a way where it makes you feel like, oh, you wouldn't have guessed this, right? But you're like, but I did. And then you just feel like, why did I waste my time? That's what this book felt like. Writing wise, I think her writing is really good. It reads like the OG mysteries like Agatha Christie and Sidney Sheldon, very reminiscent of their writing era and writing style. However, the plot was just, it was so slow. The characters are just so unlikable. There's not a single character you're rooting for, to be honest, except maybe some of the women. All the men in this book, they are exhausting, they are revolting. I just was not, every time I was in the perspective of these men, I was like, why? They're so repulsive, their mindset, the way they behave, the things they do, the things we find out about them. I feel like if you really want to try Lucy Foley, maybe go for her other books. Again, I haven't read them, but I would suggest you go for those and you can just skip over this one. It's nothing brilliant. The next book I read, okay, a little preface before this. I just want to preface this. I read Colleen Hoover back in 2021. I think back then she was really high. She was getting on there on her hype train and getting really popular, and the hate train hadn't started so much. And honestly, my views on Colleen Hoover are pretty complicated. I'll try to sum them up. I read uh, Verity by her first, okay? I love that book, still love that book. I think the only reason that book gets hate is because her audience is primarily romance readers, so they were not able to adjust to the kind of the brutalness in Verity. But Verity as such is a great book. And then I read It Ends With Us, which also is again a great book. I personally feel like if you truly read It Ends With Us, it does not romanticize domestic abuse and all that, like everything that people talk about on the internet. It's the audience, it's the younger readers who like to romanticize the man who's pretty abusive to the female lead in that book. And I'm sure all of you already know about that narrative, but if not, I'm not getting into the details of it. But the book, she doesn't do that. Like the author, in no way. Like when I read it, I was clearly very, very repulsed by the man in that book. And then I also read Reminders of Him, which was also pretty nice. And then I read a couple others. I read It Starts With Us and I read November 9, and I hated those books. I feel like those books were very problematic. And also just there was no need to put them out as well, okay? I kind of read all the good books and then started dwindling down, and then the hate train began as to why people started hating Colleen Hoover, so I kind of left her off altogether. And I just want to say one thing though, that her books aren't the greatest book for sure, but I also don't think she deserves the kind of hate she gets at the scale that she gets it. Like, sure, like, please put out your views about her, but I just wish we could direct this kind of hate that she gets, or the kind of criticism that she gets, towards other authors who are doing much worse, who are putting out much worse content than her. Anyway, all that to say, of course, I had also stopped reading Colleen Hoover because of everything and my personal views as well. But then I remembered I had a book from her, another book from her on my shelf that I hadn't gotten to, and I was like, since I have it, might as well give it a chance, because why not? It's there, and I did enjoy like some of her books. So let's just see where this goes. And I haven't heard anyone talking about it, not that I've looked into it, but yeah. So I picked up Never Never. Now this is a collab. It's with Colleen Hoover along with Taryn Fisher. It's a domestic thriller. So this it follows our two leads, and they I don't know how to explain this properly. They wake up one day and they realize that they have no memories. They don't recognize anyone around them. They don't recognize each other, their family. They don't remember what happened. Nothing. No memories about their life at all. And then slowly they figure out that they were a couple before they lost their memories. So they decide to stick together and start trying to figure out what happened to them and why they don't remember anything. Basic, sounds pretty interesting, like okay, you wake up one day, you don't have any memories, and you're just trying to figure out what happened, right? However, the writing again is so bad, honestly. Again, obviously it's been a while since I read books from her, so maybe I just have better taste now, but it just didn't feel like this was her writing style. Like, you can tell she wrote it with someone else because the writing was all over the place. It was just bad, and the story was so freaking slow. And one of the characters, if it's a dual POV book, right? So one of the characters being in their head was just so annoying. And then there were these random lines that she would drop in the book, which were just gave me the worst ick possible. I didn't even finish the book. I got about like this much through the book, and then I was like, I can't do it to myself. I'm gonna read you one of the lines, okay, in this book. So the female main character that we have, she has a younger sister, and she's finding out that maybe her and her sister don't get along all that well, and she's 14 years old, okay, she's a little child. She's not responding to her properly, or she's giving her a little bit of an attitude, as younger siblings do. And this is her inner narrative in her head. This is what she says. I suddenly feel very sorry for being so rough with her. She's just a little kid with tiny boobs and a hormone addled brain. I'm sorry, what? In no world is any older sister thinking of the younger sister like, oh, it's fine that they're acting out. She's just tiny boobs with a hormone addled brain. I'm so disgusted. I can't. Oh my god. The minute I read this, I was like, who the fuck thinks like that? Why is this line here? Why would you write this? It reminded me of that line. I haven't read Ugly Love by her, but I've seen people make fun of it all over, and I've like, I know the story. I've seen people do deep dives about why it's a bad book. And there's a line in that book which says that, oh, me and my husband, we laughed at our son's big balls. Insane, I know. And that's what this reminded me of. Yeah, I remembered why I decided not to read her books, and will not be making the same mistake again. So that was Never Never, DNF. Okay, the next book I read was another DNF. Unfortunately, I was really getting slumpy by this point. Honestly, these books were just not doing it for me, and they were just driving me down into a hole. But the next book I read was Panic by Lauren Oliver. Now, I've heard a lot about this author, and she was really popular in like the 2010s era. I picked up Panic because it sounded really interesting to me. It's about this little town, and there's a game called Panic that is played in this town, which is essentially like a sort of truth and dare, but filled with only dares. And it's like life endangering kind of dares, and there's prize money at the end for whoever wins this game. So the senior class of the high school in this town, they all participate in this game during the summer. So it's a high stakes adventure game filled kind of book is what I thought it would be. But it was just boring. That's what it was. It was just boring. The characters that we're following are fucking boring. The story was so slow. With a premise like this, you would think it would be like so interesting and so fun and so fast paced, but we were just dragging on and on and on forever, and nothing was happening. 150 pages, and I have learned nothing. We have progressed nowhere in the game. It like I just the book was fucking trash. I'm sorry, but it was. So yeah, that's Panic by Lauren Oliver. Do not recommend. This is so sad. So far, every book I'm just like, I don't recommend. The next book I picked up was a book that I was finally able to finish. So I guess it's progress in a way. And it's a hockey romance. It's called Behind the Net by Stephanie Archer. Now, this book I have very mixed feelings on, to be honest. I feel like my feelings are all over the place in this video. I just don't know how to conclude my feelings with this, because that first half was genuinely fun. I was having fun while reading it. I was finally feeling like, oh my god, a book I'm actually gonna be able to sit through and, actually have fun with. But then the second half was just... First of all, let me just say this book is like highly inspired by The Deal by L. Kennedy. Like the plot is basically like, yeah, the basic concept of that book. The basic concept of that book is what this book is. So we follow these two main characters. They were in the same high school growing up, but they didn't really know each other. And now I think 8 years later, he's in the NFL and she becomes his assistant. And it's a dual POV. They're both attracted to each other, but they don't know that, obviously, and they don't even remember the fact that they remember each other. So a few reasons why I didn't like it was it was so dragged out. Like, look at how thick this book is. I don't know what you have to say in this romance. It's so basic, and it just kept going on and on and on and on, like forever. It was insane. Also, the male main character, like, I feel like he was like a grounded regular guy, but then she like tried to keep forcing that, oh, I'm so protective and so jealous, and I will physically hold you back and I will growl at you, and that kind of attitude into him, which wasn't necessary. And also, that's not the kind of character I like anyway. The insanely unnecessarily possessive and protective male guy, it's not for me, and it felt so forced in this book. And every time he would be like that, I would just be like, oh my god, somebody shut him up. Also, the chemistry was like a little all over the place. Like, initially I was like, oh, I think they seem cute together, but eventually their relationship was all about their physical attraction towards each other and their sexual relationship. Like, that really took the main focus. So I was just like, a relationship driven by the physical attraction and by sex is not the kind of relationship I want to read about. It's not what I have fun with. So it was just, I don't know. There's a lot of smut in this book, and my stance on smut is that I don't care. If there's smut in a book, fine. If there isn't, fine. I really don't care. I don't particularly reach for books with smut, and if it's there, I'll read through it, I'll get through it, and whatever. This book, though, it was so insufferable. I had to keep skipping through scenes all the time because it was just insufferable and so badly written. And just one thing I will give to this book, though, is that the epilogue was a lot better than most romance books or most hockey romances have. The epilogues of most hockey romances are trash and completely unrealistic and just piss me off for a lot of reasons. This one did not do that, so thank God for that. But yeah, that was behind the net. If you like insane sexual attraction based relationships and the protective, manly, that kind of guy, then you can maybe pick it up and you'll enjoy it. It just wasn't for me. It's like an average book for me, honestly, because it is. That's why I don't know how to feel about it, because I did have fun initially, and it's not like they're not lovable characters. Like the girl I like, and there's some side characters that I really enjoyed. I can't wait to read their books in the series ahead. But this one, I don't know, like a 3, 2.5, I don't know. And the next book I read was a fucking 5 stars. It's become one of my all-time favorite reads. I cannot even explain to you how much I love it. It was Anxious People by Frederick Bachman. Oh my god. If there is one book recommendation you guys will take from me, let it be this. I don't even know how to describe what this book is. On the surface, the book is about this bank robber who tried to rob a bank and failed to do so. So he ran into an apartment building where there was an apartment showing happening, and he took the people in that apartment as hostages. And we're following two timelines again, one of these people in the apartment showing and one of the police later investigating what happened. It's third person perspective, but at the same time it's more like the author is talking to us and explaining the story to us. So we look into every single character in this book, multiple characters, all the hostages, the police officers, the bank robber, other people associated with these people. But oh my god, I know some people get intimidated when we follow multiple characters, but this goes like a breeze. And that's a story on the surface. What it's really about is just people. It's about the human experience. We get into the background of all these characters and how they're connected and the things they're going through as humans, as people, as lovers, as parents, as humans to each other, and their anxieties and how that ties us all together. And I feel like this author just spoke to me and made me feel seen in a way no book ever has before. Yeah, I will have a detailed discussion on this book. It will be coming up soon, probably after this video. So watch out for that video if you want to see and discuss this with me in detail. But yeah, 515, honestly, I just thank you to the author. It's written by Frederick Bachman, but it's been translated by Neil Smith because he's a Swedish author. So these books are translated into English, and thank God I got to read this. I cannot wait to read more from this author. The last book I'm talking about is a book I've been reading throughout the month. I've been taking my time slowly reading it because it was a reread, and it was City of Lost Souls by Cassandra Clare. Now this is the 5th book in the Mortal Instruments series by her, which is set in the Shadowhunter universe all over, okay? So if you don't know about this book, hi, welcome to my channel. You must be new here, but also you must be living under a rock. So the Mortal Instruments, the Shadowhunters universe was very popular in the 2010s. Like throughout, it had BookTube and Bookstagram running for its money, and the popularity has obviously dwindled a little bit, but I still have a very special place in my heart for these books. So I've been rereading them and seeing if I still like them, if my feelings for them have changed, and just to revisit the characters, because mostly I'm very attached to the characters. So I've been going through them slowly one by one, and this was the fifth book. Again, if you don't know what this book is about, or the series is about, we follow people who are shadow hunters. They're basically half angel, half human, and they kill demons. Okay, so we have different dimensions, and whenever demons get into Earth, it's their job to get rid of them. Pretty basic enough. In this particular series, there's multiple series and trilogies in this universe. Okay, this particular series, we follow a bunch of people. We follow Clary, Jace, Simon, Alec, Isabel, and Magnus. It's an urban fantasy, it's a political fantasy. They have a government, and we have a villain who's been trying to overthrow that government slash create his own ruling of some sorts in the Shadowhunter world, and we're seeing them fight against that villain. It's really complicated to explain because this is the fifth book, but that's a gist of where the first book starts off. Yeah, I would definitely recommend this series. There are things that now I look back on, that now I'm rereading this, I'm just like, wow, that but regardless, because I have so much love for them, I'm enjoying them anyway, and I bet you will too. Like, you will definitely enjoy reading about these characters, these stories. They're super fun. That's the one thing Cassandra Clare can always guarantee you, is that you're gonna have fun. So yeah, the first book is City of Bones. If you want to pick it up, I would recommend. And with that, we come to an end of this wrap up. That was super long, but I just had to get all my feelings out because this month was a drag, to say the least. Hope you got at least one good recommendation from that, because there was only one. But yeah, that was my month. Some months you have a good reading time, some months you don't. It's alright, it happens. Hopefully April will be better, but let me know about what your month was like. Maybe you fared better than me, worse than me, I don't know, give me company. Yeah, hope you enjoyed that regardless. I will see you soon in the next video. Until then, please like, share, subscribe, and comment. It really helps me out, and I love engaging with you guys, as always, as I always say. So yeah, thank you so much for watching.